Hello, my most amazing artists, and welcome to your Thursday Arty Party. Today I have a topic that I'm going to make art on that I'm really excited about. It's treasure. And when I taught first grade for a very long time, we used to do a whole unit on treasure. And it really excited me because we live fairly close to a mountain range that is notorious for treasure. And I'm going to talk to you today and show you some books, and then we're going to make a pretend treasure map. So follow along and let's go have an adventure with art.
Okay, we're going to start off this video with some exploration. So my first book I want to show you is a book by Bill Wallace, a wonderful author. He and his wife, both of them are writers, and wrote many books. Bill Wallace originally started out by writing adventure books for boys because when he was a teacher, he had a really hard time finding books that excited boys and got boys to want to read. So Trapped in Death Cave is probably my very favorite Bill Wallace book. I've read a lot of his books, even as a girl, and this is wonderful. It's about two boys who get kind of tangled up in this treasure hunting saga. One of the boys, his grandpa, dies under mysterious circumstances, and his grandpa has maps to treasures in the mountains by where they live, and the boys get caught up in this mystery, and it's very exciting. There's treasure, there's caves, there's all kinds of danger and excitement and adventure, and it's a really wonderful book. It's fairly easy to read. If I had to guess, I would say it was somewhere between a 3.0 and 4.0 reading level, if not even a little bit younger than that, maybe 2.0, 2.5, something like that. So it's a good, easy to read book, available in most libraries, available online. I absolutely love this copy because it's signed, which is really awesome, and just a really amazing book. I would read this to my class every year when I had a classroom before I started teaching art, and it was voted every year our favorite, absolute #1 favorite book of the entire year. So it's a great book. If you haven't read it, go do it. Okay, our next book, this is a fiction book, so this is a story. Our next book is a nonfiction book called Oklahoma Treasures and Treasure Tales by Steve Wilson. This book has been worn out twice in my home. This is our second copy, and it is worn out. It's starting to break in the middle, and pages are falling out. So this is a very popular book in my house. Oh, Spooky's coming up here to say hi. This is about true treasure tales, treasure stories, real treasures that have been found. The area we live in geographically, we are very close to the Wichita Mountains in Oklahoma, and they are filled with all kinds of stories of treasure, real and possibly imaginary. And I have some pages marked in here to show you. So the outlaw Jesse James supposedly hid treasure close to the mountains. Here's an actual treasure map, which we're going to make a map today. And I don't know if you can see this, but this says it's one of his maps showing 5 caches of gold, greenbacks, which is money, and jewelry buried near the Horse and Saddle Cave. And the guy was looking for it named Joe Hunter, what an appropriate last name. He succeeded in deciphering this code, but he never found the treasure, so it's still out there somewhere. Another hunter named Wells Blevins inherited treasure maps from a member of that gang. And many of these landmarks that are drawn on this map were discovered, but the gold was never found. So pretty fascinating. And if you go to the Wichita Mountains, you can get maps. I don't know if this is, let me check and make sure this is showing up on the camera. Yeah, okay. That tells you all about the wildlife refuge. And here's a map. This is a very simple map. It doesn't show the mountains. This is private land. Down here is military land, so Fort Sill. You can go on this land, but you have to have a pass and things like that. It's kind of complicated. Pretty exciting place to go. Beautiful. This map does not do it justice. So One of the things you can't do on the refuge is look for treasure. Now you can look, you can't use a metal detector, you can't use a spade or a shovel. So you're very limited in what you can do, but it's still really exciting to hear these stories and to be in a place that has so much history behind it. So let's go on to the next part here. Originally they thought there was gold in the Wichita Mountains. This is a prospector, but it turned out there really wasn't much, so it kind of died out. This is an amazing map, and this is where our book is broken because this is like the favorite page of the entire book. This is a topographical map of the Wichita Mountains, and it shows each mountain in this range. A lot of this is private property, so don't trespass, guys. That's not a good idea. But you can go through most of this wildlife refuge and visit. This is federally, or I don't know if it's federally, it's government-owned land. It's your land as a taxpayer, your family's land. You can go on this and visit it and look around, go hiking, visit these lakes and rivers and streams, and there's so many beautiful things here. This was kind of my basis for my treasure map. Here's one that I made. And one of the things I like to do is just kind of make up fun names for mountains and things like that. So I'm going to show you how to make this map here in a minute. Let's see. I don't know if I have anything else marked in this book. I thought I did. I had a picture of Jesse James' treasure that was found in a kettle. I might have missed it. At the Keechee Hills. Yeah, here we go. Here it is. So here's this treasure hunter. His name is Wells Blevins. This is a treasure map. I don't know if this guy found that treasure, but I don't remember who found the kettle. Here is where the kettle was found. This is Buzzard's Roost outside of Cement, Oklahoma. And they found a kettle containing Jesse James's stolen items. And I know I have a picture of it. Let me see if I can find it. Sorry, friends. Lots of people find Spanish and Indian relics. Here's some a horse tether weight from Coronado's band when they went through. Let me see if I can find the kettle picture because that's really cool. So here's Jesse James. Jesse James, Frank James, and Cole Younger. They were a band of outlaws that robbed trains and other things. There's a lot of stories like that. So here's a picture of an old treasure map. How cool is that? It's been taped together. It's completely falling apart. Probably because it's been folded and unfolded so many times. Let's see if I can find that. Here we go. So here's the kettle. It's just a big giant, probably cast iron kettle. And inside they found watches, gold, and a map on a sheet of copper, which is a very soft metal. And then they used that map to try to find more treasure, but never did find it. So some of these were carved on rocks, these little coded symbols, which is pretty cool. And here we are in the Wichita Mountains. Someone unearthed another trove of Jesse James treasure in a brass bucket. This is Tarbone Mountain, which you can go on in the refuge, but you can't obviously dig for treasure there anymore. So here's some newspaper articles about that. This is so fun, isn't it? Now, obviously these things were found a long time ago, but it doesn't mean that there's nothing left. And here's the brass bucket that was found, and it has this secret pact carved on the kettle by the James gang. You know, probably saying something like, you know, if I die, I'm not gonna, or if I'm dying, I'm not gonna tell anyone where this treasure is, stuff like that. So, pretty cool, actually. All right, we're back where we started with the maps. So now we're going to make our own map. All right, so this is also in local libraries, very easy to find, pretty cheap on Amazon. It is a wonderful book. You could look at this for hours. It's just amazing. My kids always love looking at it too, my kids in my classroom. Okay, so let's go on. So we're gonna make a treasure map. So you need paper and you need something to draw with. Let me get that real quick because I was ready for the books, but I wasn't ready for the art. It's terrible. I love books so much. Okay. Spooky the cat is on the table with us, although she's on the other side of the camera. You can't see her. She's watching me intently. Like, what are you doing? All right, so typically a treasure map would be made so that you could find your treasure again. When I was a girl, I've always loved treasure. So when I was a girl, I thought it would be cool to bury some money in my backyard. And I did, and I went back to look for it a month later and I could not find it. So it's important to do a treasure map. I eventually did find it, and I learned the hard way that if you bury dollar bills and it rains on them, they will disintegrate. They will fall apart, buried in the dirt. So don't bury money unless you put it in something first. Okay, so most maps start with a name. So we'll put map of the treasure. Treasure, kind of a hard word to spell. This is sure. All right, I'm gonna start this one kind of like my example one. And I'm gonna think about the Wichita Mountains, my favorite place to go. And I'm gonna start with a river that runs through this. Now in the Wichita Mountains, this is more like a road that runs through it, but I want it to be a river. And you have to think of cool names for things, which is a lot of fun. So I'm gonna name this Lost River. Now when you draw a map, you typically wanna add details to show what it is you're looking at. So for instance, a river might have texture of flowing water. Although this kind of looks like snakes. So you want to show something that tells the looker of the map what it is, because they might think this is a road if you didn't put anything, or maybe they can't, maybe they can't read, so maybe they might think this is a road, but if you put little water texture, like, oh yeah, that's a river. Okay. Then I'm gonna put in my mountains. So I have to decide, where my treasure is gonna be. Is it gonna be in a cave? Is it gonna be underground? Is it gonna be under a bunch of rocks? Things like that. So I think I'm just gonna start with, I know when you come into the refuge, Mount Scott is right here. So I'm gonna make this a really big mountain right here. But I'm not gonna name it Mount Scott. I'm just kind of using that as some ideas. And when you make these little concentric circles like this, or rings, it shows how tall your mountain is. So there's a mountain there. I'm gonna put another one right next door. And it can go off the map, off the side, that's fine. And then maybe a little bit smaller one. So the less circles and, the smaller it is, obviously, the shorter it is. Maybe another one here. And if you hear weird noises, that's my dog in the background. She is scratching her face on the carpet behind me. Another one. And I'm just gonna kind of add these concentric rings. I don't want to make a perfect circle because mountains usually aren't perfect circles. So I'm gonna make them kind of wonky. I want this river to run in between these two mountains right here. Ooh, that's a really big mountain. So if you make one that you think might be too big, you can turn it into two mountains. Look at that. All right. And then I want this to be like a area here. Maybe I have like these softer mountains here. And if your mountain is short and wide, you would just put maybe 2 circles. If it's really tall, you would have a whole bunch of concentric rings or circles. Concentric means getting bigger or smaller. All right, let's come over here and make one. One of the things that was talked about in the book a lot was how both Indians and robbers would use these little gaps between the mountains that might be like canyons, and they could come from above and attack whoever had to go through this, the canyon. and it was really hard to get out of the canyon. You can only go in or out. You couldn't get away any other way. So it was a good place to ambush somebody. So I want a canyon definitely for my exciting map. Okay, I think I have enough mountains. That's a lot. Now on a map, you typically have a compass rose, which shows you the directions. North is always on the top. South is always on the bottom. And then we have west and east. And you can remember this a couple of different ways. Never eat sour watermelon. I don't have a problem with north and south, but I have a problem remembering west and east. I just remember it spells we. That helps. And the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Okay, so now we got to add some more details, right? So we can tell these are mountains, we can tell this is a river, but we need to name some things and do some caves. So let's do a cave here. We're just gonna make this darker with my pencil. And you can have fun, guys. You can add all kinds of really cool stuff to this, whatever you want. I'm hoping just to give you some ideas. And I might do another, oh, here's look at this. I accidentally made this wonderful canyon right here. Pretty awesome. Let's put a cave right here. There's kind of a little indentation there. Anywhere I have a little indentation, I'm probably just gonna put a cave, because why not? Caves are awesome. Let's see, I don't know if I want a whole bunch of caves though. There are caves in the Wichita Mountains. They're hard to get to, I've noticed. You have to hike quite a bit. A lot of them are on the tops of mountains. In the book, Trapped in Death Cave, the boys, Brian and Gary, end up in Death Cave. Brian has to hike up with a friend of his to rescue Gary into a cave. And it's pretty scary. The hiking is a long, long, long hike. A lot of work too. Okay, let's see. So now I gotta name some things. So I think I'll start with my canyon here. I have Lost River. Let's do Wind Canyon. And then we could name this Wind Cave. There is a Wind Cave in the Wichitas to match Wind Canyon. This mountain could be Sister and a Brother, so we'll name it Sister Mountain. And you want to use a capital letter when you write names to show that it's a name. And Brother, which I didn't do on the wind, I'll have to fix that. Brother Mountain. Oh my goodness, I didn't do it for the river either. You guys, make this a capital. I won't have to erase, that's okay. I can change that to a, yeah, use capital letters, don't do what Mrs. Evans does. Okay. I named one of these on my book after Bill Wallace, so I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna name my biggest mountain here Mount Wallace. Mount is short for mountain. And let's see. I don't know what to call the cave. I'll think about, oh, maybe a Buzzard's Cave. I like that. Buzzard's Cave. There's a lot of turkey buzzards in this area. They're really, really big birds. Okay, so you guys know that treasure can also be on a pirate map, right? Right, so I'm gonna name one of these Pirate Cave. Even though we don't have pirates here because the ocean is very far away from us where we live. Let's see. Now, a lot of these mountains on my real map of the Wichitas were not named. They didn't have names, so you don't have to name every single mountain. Just have fun doing what you want. Okay, so You can think of animals that are in the area to name things after. That's always a lot of fun. So there's a lot of rattlesnakes here. So you could name maybe this is kind of a canyon area here. We could name this Rattlesnake Ridge or Rattlesnake Gap. Ooh, I like that even better. Rattlesnake Gap, yeah. Remember to use a capital letter. Rattlesnake Gap. All right. So what other birds and species of animals? We got prairie dogs, but they're not very scary, are they? We could do prairie dog field right here because prairie dogs live in open fields. Prairie dog field, okay. There's elk. We can have an elk mountain. Let's put Elk Mountain here. Okay, you can get as complicated with this as you want or as simple with this as you want. Now we have to figure out where we're gonna bury our treasure. I think putting it in Rattlesnake Gap, maybe on this side of Mount Wallace, is a good idea. So we're gonna put an X here for the treasure. Make it a fancy looking X. There we go, there's our treasure. All right, so what do you do if, let's say, you want to bury some treasure in your backyard? So this map is finished. This is a pretend map, unless you're really going to go bury treasure, but this isn't a real place. So let's make a map, maybe if you want to do treasure in your backyard. So I'm going to put this away. So there you go, there's our pretend map. Now we're going to do backyard treasure. Let's name it Treasure in the Yard, or Treasure of the Yard. Treasure of the Yard. Arr. Okay, so let's say you're thinking about your backyard. I'm gonna put the house here. So you could draw a little square for your house, kind of coming off the paper, and you could just write house right here. And maybe your fence comes out here and goes back here and comes off here and goes back here and then connects at the back. Now you want to show what the fence is. So if you put maybe some poles every once in a while, showing it. And then you can make a legend for your map, which is another way to help other people read your map. Because you might remember what things are, but other people won't know if they've never been there. So you could put the legend right here. I'm gonna put it inside the house. Okay, so legend. So right now I have fence. I'm gonna write fence so people will know that this is a fence. All right, so in your yard, let's say you have a tree, a big tree over here. You would just make big concentric circles for your tree. And you could kind of do this for tree. Let's say you have a swing set over here. And I'm drawing it bird's eye view or God's eye view, like we're looking down on it. I don't know how to do that in the legend. We'll just, if it won't fit in the legend, you can just name it on the map. Swing set. Okay. And let's say you have one of those turtle sandboxes. My kids had one of those. It wasn't as big as the swing set, but you know. And in your turtle sandbox, you're gonna bury the treasure right here between the head and the front left leg. Put an X over here for treasure. Then it's really fun if you measure out distances. So let's say your back door is right here. Where's my door open? Doorknobs. Let's say here from the door to your treasure is paces. So paces is how many footsteps you take. So count how many footsteps you would take from your door to wherever the treasure is, or maybe from your door. Ooh, let's make it even more exciting. I'm gonna erase this, maybe. let's make, whoever reads this, let's make them go somewhere else first. So maybe they have to go to the tree. So go 10 paces to the tree. Then they have to go from the tree to the sandbox, maybe 15 paces. And then dig. They'll know to dig because there's an X, and you know, X marks the spot. So there you go, friends. If you're a really mean treasure hider, you could put some traps here. Maybe you could have a table with some Twinkies on it to distract your treasure hunter and get them out of the way while you grab the map. You know, things like that. Maybe you could have an attack kitten. All right, so here's some ideas about how to do some treasure maps and to have your own really fun treasure adventure. As you can see, I did this one in color. You could add color too. You could make a real treasure map and bury something in your yard. Ask your mom and dad if they have something you could bury something in. Mason jars are great for this. If you have a jar of pickles in your fridge, ask your mom or dad if you can empty them into a Tupperware container and then wash that pickle jar out, and it's a great thing to bury some stuff in. You could just put your treasures in there, put the lid on it, and bury it, and they'll be safe since they're inside the glass. So there's some ideas for you, friends. I hope you have a wonderful summer. I should be back next week. I've been off and on here a little bit. I'm sorry. Been doing a lot of stuff with my family, and we have a lot of baseball obligations we've been taking care of. So we've been traveling a little bit, but I'm really excited to share this with you today. I know it's a long video, but I hope you had a fun time, and just, go out there and have fun with art. All right, see you next time. Bye.